After I quit my job, I sold what little I had and bought a tent, a sleeping bag, some basic camping supplies, and headed for Glacier National Park. I planned to stay for as long as I could. Turned out, that was just one night. Once I pitched my tent, I spent the day hiking. I saw all kinds of animals. I even saw a bear. I was on a high trail which curved around a mountain. I took a turn and the bear was just a few feet in front of me, tugging at a huckleberry bush. Instead of being frightened, as any rational person would be, I felt calm. And in fact, I thought to myself that this was the first time in months, maybe years, that I felt really calm. I stood perfectly still. The bear ate for a while longer, then walked off. A beautiful moment. A moment full of grace, really and truly. And that's why you became a priest? Mom asked. Molly said, Mom, that can't be it. She looked at Cousin Mike. That's not it, right? Cousin Mike laughed and said, oh no. If that had been the most extraordinary occurrence in Glacier, I might have gone back to school for biology, or headed for the hills and built myself a cabin. No. I returned to my campsite around 7 o'clock. The folk at the neighboring site had a little motor home with a striped awning, and they were grilling, and when they saw me, all alone and munching on granola, they invited me over for dogs and beer. By the time I finally went to bed, these were very friendly, talkative people. I'd had more beer than I was used to, and was a little drunk. I fell asleep right away, but I didn't stay asleep. Cousin Mike looked at Molly. One of the downsides of beer drinking, besides turning some folk into fools, is that it goes right through you, if you know what I mean. You had to pee, Molly said, her delight obvious. I had to pee, real bad. You might think, being out in the woods, that I'd just go behind a tree. Gross. Park rangers feel the same way, Molly. In fact, Glacier's pretty civilized. A short walk from the campsite is a public bathroom. It's a cabin, one half for boys, one for girls. There are no street lights, no porch lights, no nothing except the moon, which was just a sliver that night and not much good for light. I climbed out of my tent into the first real darkness I'd ever been in, I think. Before I clicked on my flashlight, I looked up, and folks, the sky is full of stars. And satellites, I'm told, but they all look like stars to me, on the blackest background the universe has to offer. That was another nice little moment. Maybe I would have become an astronomer or an astronaut. But as lovely as the night sky was, I had to pee. And besides, the stars would be there when I got back. I switched on my light, a pitiful, cheap little flashlight, and started up the slope to the bathroom. I couldn't find the trail I'd used earlier, so I just made my own trail, shining my light back onto my tent to keep myself oriented. Pretty soon, I could see the light from the bathroom. The park bathroom was unheated and lit only by a few bare incandescent bulbs. Screened openings just beneath the ceiling provide the only ventilation. Because of the bulbs, there were insects everywhere. Anytime the door is open, more come in. While I stood at the toilet, I watched moths and long, spindly bugs creep along the wall in front of me and try not to think about the bugs that were probably just above my head. And I tried not to look at all the bugs swimming in the toilet bowl. Even though I was slathered in insect repellent, bugs still flew into me. As I relieved myself, that was when I heard the noise. A clicking sound, like this. Cousin Mike made a noise with his mouth. Molly lifted her legs up from the floor, curled up against Mom. The sound came from behind me. You all know how vulnerable you feel when you're in a public bathroom, especially when you're using the toilet. I got pretty scared. I figured an animal had gotten in, and I didn't like the idea of being caught by a bobcat or a wolverine with my pants down. I zipped up quick, wet myself a little. Molly, I'm sorry, I'm being gross. Molly didn't say a word. Mom was starting to wonder if she should cut Cousin Mike off, if he was going to scare Molly. So I go back out, a little shaken up, trying to laugh at myself, but feeling very exposed and very ill-equipped. My cheap flashlight flickered a bit. I turned back toward the bathroom to keep my bearings. I certainly didn't want to get lost. The idea terrified me. And I saw a figure step out of the men's room, and I could have sworn it was a woman. Oddly enough, that was kind of comforting. I could laugh at that. A female camper went into the wrong bathroom, and when I came in, she was embarrassed, so she hid in the stall. That made sense. It explained everything. And so I moved toward my tent with a slightly renewed sense of confidence. When I shone my light back toward the bathroom again, I caught a glimpse of that figure again, and the way it moved, I couldn't tell anymore if it was man or woman. The way it moved horrified me. Instead of walking like a man, it moved rapidly, side to side, its legs wide apart, making an upside-down V. Its legs didn't bend. I couldn't see how it moved exactly, but it did move, and was moving toward me, crossing back and forth over the path I made. I ran. A tent is a funny thing because it's no protection from anything, really, except bugs and small animals and the elements. But once you're in it, you feel safer. So I got into my tent and zipped it shut and turned off my flashlight and sat as still as I could. I was out of breath. I fought to breathe as slowly and quietly as possible. I knew it was outside my tent because I heard the sound I'd heard in the bathroom. Cousin Mike made the noise again. And now Molly was frightened, but also needed to hear the end of the story. And Mom was worried for Molly, but engrossed, and Dad was too. My heart hurt inside my chest, and it surely skipped a beat when something scratched the outside of my tent, ran its nails or claws all over the tent to taunt me, because surely it could tear the tent apart if it wished to. I knew it was not an animal when it pulled at the tent zipper. I had no weapon, and so I prayed. I spoke the Lord's Prayer as loud and as clear as I could. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The zipper inched upward. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. I grew more confident and raised my voice. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. The zipper stopped, and I finished out the prayer. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. When I said amen, I had the strength to open the tent and step out into the night. I turned on my flashlight and walked around my tent. There was nothing. No one said a word. Cousin Mike broke the spell by tossing another log onto the fire. The room brightened. Cousin Mike said, "There are demons in this world, and God has provided us with a way to protect ourselves." Cousin Mike stood